So my talk is about digital twins. So before I do that, just give you one slide on we are Fujitsu in a nutshell. So our key focus and our purposes is to make the world more sustainable by building trust in society through innovation. We would love to use the technology to make people happier and our happier lives. And on the sustainability piece, is about building new possibilities by connecting people, technology, and ideas. And at the foremost, we will put people first. Okay, so as in the panel discussion, this is what I'm so passionate about from my past experiences in the industrial space and leveraging that know-how and our technology to the societal space. And this is where people. So just to give you an outline of the presentation, I basically break it into 3 parts. So the first part is giving you the Fujitsu UFAN. This is our digital transformation internally, and also the business for Fujitsu going forward. Okay, and I will touch the key focus areas and the technology areas that we are focusing on. And then I will take the opportunity here to say something about digital twins. This is about digital and sustainability transformation, what has done in the past and what been achieved and the derived benefits. And I will use some of that, some of our own experiences and also of others, where we are at today and what are the possibilities in the digital twin space, and then the future direction where we see is on the horizons and possibly beyond that. And then I will summarize the takeaways for the people here. So the Fujitsu key focus area is going forward. This is very much changing our direction from what was, if you know us, from a telecom to IT to services space to a digital transformation. And the Fujitsu UFAN is the direction the business and the research is going for, going forward to making a sustainable world. So the vertical areas across industries are sustainable manufacturing, consumer experience, healthy living, trusted society. And in the horizontal areas where we cut across the various sectors and the technology platform to support that cross industry is the digital shift, business application, and hybrid ITs. Okay, so very much covering the sustainability space. And the technology that will support the key focus areas which the Fujitsu group and the Fujitsu research is focusing on is on 5 key technology. The computing, so you're looking at your traditional computing platform like high performance computing, your workstation and so on, but also new computing technologies like the digital annealer, sort of the interim before you're going to full quantum. So Fujitsu will have a quantum computer soon in the next few years, and then we are going to that hybrid space where you have your traditional computing and your new quantum computing. We see that as a hybrid. There is a solution going forward. The network space is about connecting up different parts, and this is very much looking at 5G, 6G space where latency will be low and doing a lot more data through your pipelines. Yeah, of course, AI, right? So AI is becoming ubiquitous, and is how you should leverage AI to benefit society, businesses, and at the same time is AI training AI or AI protecting AI. So this is very much about how we should leverage this technology that is becoming so important to society and business. And explainable AI is one of the key focus area that we very much focusing. Is the scalability of AI today is so powerful, but nobody understands that black box, okay, how the AI model is created. And it is important that we have something that able to explain that or have a handle on that in order why it came to that decision. Then we have the data and security. This is, again, covers all aspects of data, and more importantly, how that security element. Today, the security is at the system level. In the future, we see security is at the data level, okay? And if it's at the data level, then it is possible then have that traceability. What I mean by that is, if you mixing data from various data set, the new data set need to inherit the policy of that, the data set that it came from, okay? And hence you have a way of that traceability of your data set, where it came from, where it was combined with others. Finally is conversion technology, and I will say a little bit more about that. The convergent technology is about one element of that is digital twin, okay? And hopefully I will give you more insight into that. Can I ask, I'm not moving my slide. Oh, here we go. Good. It seems a little bit slow on my end. So the information about the Fujitsu technology and surface vision, which is available on the Fujitsu website. You can download a full copy of this available, and it will explain the focus on the research areas that we are focusing on in terms of the technology. And on the convergent technology, there is digital twin, or I should say social digital twin is one of the key focus that we are looking at today. Just about why we are going towards that social digital twin. So for those who are not familiar, Japan is on that journey towards Japan Society 5.0. I guess most of you are familiar with Industry 4.0. So this is very much on a similar path, but for society. So Society 1, Society 2, Society 3, Society 4, and Society 5, okay? And Fujitsu have made a commitment. This is from our President Tokita-san that was presented to the Japanese business societies, the role of the Fujitsu in Society 5.0. The short message here, if you look at the slide, it is about virtual and the physical world, basically a digital twin. So just to summarize our purpose within the UFans and the Fujitsu group is our purpose is to make the world more sustainable by building trust in society through innovation. And I hope the image here gives you that summary of how we see we can achieve that with our customer, and also how we do that internally as well, okay? Because digital transformation is both for us internally as well as to support our customers. So the 5 key technology, okay, is there highlighted, And the convergent technology in some way with the digital twin is the umbrella to encode all the digital technology space. For those that we're not directly involved in, this is where we will partner with the best in class or acquired or whatever it is to fill the gaps here. So the image on the right is very much how we see the technology funneling into that sort of a digital twin broad umbrella to support the society and businesses, either in health, work-life shifts, environment, safety and security, that's it. So that's the vision that we are going. So now I will just share with you sort of the digital twin space and what has been in the past, what's currently in the present, and what is likely to happen in the future, in the near horizon and beyond. So hopefully this is very, just to give you an indicator, this is at a very high level, but if you're interested in the technology, do reach out to me, or if you're already a customer of ours, speak to your client executive, okay? So just to highlight the different types of digital twin, okay? It's end of the day, it's about how the data flow between the virtual world and the real world. So if in a digital model, like for example, if you're in the industrial space, you are familiar with your computer-aided design, computer-aided engineering, or your build software, the computer-aided softwares for built environment and so forth. Traditionally, they are manually connected. The flow of data is done manually. Okay, so this is where you would say that is a digital model. The next one is when you have one automated connection. This is from the real world to the virtual world. This is leveraging IoTs, yeah, for that one-way automated data flow. And that is generally referred to as a digital shadow. And the outcome of your virtual world then will bring feedback. Generally speaking, in the shadow, it will be a manual process, okay? And perhaps those some of the example I've highlighted. Now, for a full-blown digital twin, the connectivity is two-way automated. So, for example, if you take the IoT data from the real world to the virtual world, and you do some data analytics, some simulation or analysis, and feed that back in either in the real time or the white time back to the real world to make a impact or a specific outcomes for your design. So very much the various types of digital twin that you may come across or you might already know. But the important thing here is it doesn't matter where you are at with that types of digital twin. It's about getting the benefit and the outcomes for your organization and for your customer. So I think some of the past key achievements and divide benefits. For those of you not familiar or new to digital twin, the technology itself is not new. NASA coined the term back in 2010, and for your information, when I was an academic, before I joined Fujitsu, I have worked with NASA and did consultancy for them when they were doing their software transformation. That is when they got a software that is running in serial and going parallel. So that is the modernization program. And I have heard the term then. That was before even before the start of the 20th this century. They were talking about digital mock-up, digital assembly, and naturally the term digital twin was within that NASA program. Okay, and even before that, they were using the digital twin concept for their space exploration. And probably the most example of this is when NASA Apollo 13, and you probably have seen the film about that, and how they, from a potential disaster, and you probably heard in the film to Tom Hanks saying, "Houston, we have a problem." Yeah, and it turned with the digital twin concept, turned from a potential disaster to NASA one of their finest hour. I think the message I'd like you to take away here is, with digital twins, it is not what you plan. It is what you haven't planned that you can leverage the digital twin for, that you may not realize. And a good example I can give you, which is very near to us recently, is the pandemic. For organizations that have that digital model, they are able to handle that pandemic or the black swan situation much better than other that hasn't done the digital transformation. Okay, so if you're talking about industrial digital twin transformation, the industrial digital twins, then one of the first digital transformation application is the computer-aided design. And that was, the term was originated in MIT by Douglas Ross. That is back in the 1959. And of course, the computer-aided technologies, CAX, like for example, CFDs, FEA, CEM, and multiphysics. Yeah, that is very much the physics-based simulation where you use that for digital mock-up, verification, and validation, and of course, leading to the product lifecycle management. So those, I guess most of you would know, this is what is been so successful. And one of the reasons why it's so successful is, and I may share with you our own example here, is for electronic products, like for example, our laptops, our computers and supercomputer, the printed circuit boards are checked individually. Whereas previously, if it's a manual process, you can't do that. You are doing a sampling. And this is why today's electronic product is so reliable, because the printed circuit board is individually checked by the digital transformation. Now, where are we at today? Seems a bit slow in the slide going forward. Okay, here we go. So today, if you're talking about that industrial digital twin, or perhaps I could say also is the industrial metaverse, okay? Because if you provide the augmented reality within the digital twin or industrial space, you could claim to have a industrial metaverse, okay? And if you're talking about Industry 4.0, one of the key advantage with a digital twin is it's a federated digital twin, and that's very much connecting your silos. So I think the diagram at the top is highlighting, I think that is a high level feel of what, if you're in the manufacturing space, the concept conceptual stage, design, engineering, manufacture, and sales and maintenance. So so that is the gist of very much that. But each of those items there, it could be a silo in itself, using different software, different applications in that space. And if you want to connect it up into a single digital twin, it's very challenging. And this is the experience that a lot of folks have gained from the industry 4.0. The way to the practice is to do this is federated. So keep those data silos, but connecting them up in a efficient and productive way, i.e. sharing the data. Okay. Now, from my own experiences with this sort of process that the Fujitsu manufacturing for products like your laptops is, the earlier you pick up a problem, the cost is much lower. So one example I personally come across is that a young designer, at the conceptual stage, put a screw for a laptop or a PC horizontally. Now, you might not thought anything about that, but because we were able to meet virtually in a collaborative cloud environment many years ago, the manufacturing folks pointed out, yes, we can put in the screw at the manufacturing, say horizontally, but that means a rework of our manufacturing process. The manufacturing process to put in screws for a PC products or laptop product is horizontally. That's not correct. It's vertically. Okay. And for those of you in manufacturing that know, the reason you have a vertical screwing, because you just grab the screw which is hang in space, and then you just pull down and screw. Very, very efficient. But the young designer did not know this, and that was pointed out by our manufacturing colleagues in one of the refill process, and that was corrected then. Okay, so hence the cost of identify issue very, very early on in the process is one of the benefits of a federated digital twin in this respect. If you go down the line, the cost of fixing a problem becoming much, much more expensive. Asset management and monitoring is one that's been mentioned. And a good example of this is that the new business. So today, aerospace engine for airlines, they don't own that anymore. It's now pay-per-use. So Rolls-Royce will look after your aerospace engine for airlines, and they have a digital twin of that and continuously monitoring. When is the best time to do maintenance? When is the best time to change a certain part for an airline? Formula One is another good example where it's continuously driving that continuous improvement, because milliseconds means performance, means winning a race. Okay, and it's been used in the design and engineering, for example, in the aerodynamics, and of course the engine, that's the famous, the traditional space, but also today monitoring the car and the track condition in the races and after the races. Okay, so very much on that, where we can do today. That's in the industrial space. But on the social space, the societal digital twin, you are looking at a societal digital transformation. So you probably have heard smart cities. That's basically is a digital twin of the cities, that looking after how the buildings, the interaction between various organizations or utilities, and also how the people move between the buildings. Okay, so Singapore is probably one good example. And of course, I just mentioned at the beginning, Japan Society 5.0. So going to a very much a new approach, how to look after, for example, the older generations. In the case of that is the healthcare and the social care element, because the population is growing older and the younger generation is having the numbers or the resources to look after the older generations. So if we can leverage what we have done in terms of automation and in productivity in the industrial space to the social space, that would be a benefit to all societies and in all cultures as well. Let me give you an example in this space. So perhaps you've done your shopping at supermarket and you have your automated checkouts. Yeah. So a single individual would be supervising all those automated checkout. Think in terms of that for social care, if a healthcare worker can supervise autonomous machines or robots, yes, to looking after multiple patients, that is a productivity gain. Whereas today, it probably need 2 people, yeah, or healthcare people to support one individual that they need to take, for example, move him or her out of a bed, say. So those are the things that we are looking at very much today. Of course, the Fujitsu also have a social digital twin. Today is very much looking at the transport congestion CO2 emission use case, leveraging various data sets to predict and also perhaps influence people how to travel. One thing that we believe is the carbon tax is coming, okay? And if you are a people or a society where you're focusing on your green credentials, why can't you get a rebate on that? Yeah, because you have taken a green transport route. Yeah, and this is one thing we are currently looking at as well. And lastly, and this is just a few examples, it's not a very exclusive part, the individual elements as well. Your digital record, for example, your healthcare record, your tax record, those could be your individual digital twin, and you need to have been protected, perhaps in a certain way that you protect your identity, your personal details. Again, very, very much a lot of work is going on. And give you one example here, which I personally have been involved in, and this is conducting a digital physical rehearsal. You probably know that tsunami is a big issue in Japan, and how to mitigate that is one of the Japan government's major challenges. And Fujitsu is supporting this by providing real-time tsunami flooding forecast and evacuation drills. So the image there is a snapshot of the evacuation app that has been taken place and been used in a drill back in this year in March time. Very much engaging with the physical people, and in the case of tsunami, providing the real-time information to help then move to a safe pace, or if you have a group set up for yourself, move all the people in your group to the same center, okay? And that could be a benefit and also help mitigate potential crisis that can support the society. And it could also support the business, because after a tsunami situation in Japan, how to support the business coming back online is also a big factor that we have learned as well. Yeah, because the infrastructure may not be there, but the connectivity, for example, wireless, 5G, 6G coming online, that could be put up very, very quickly. So what's in the future? We see a national digital twin or national metaverse, and this is very much a federated data sharing across domain and sectors here. We're not talking about sharing all the data, but sharing data based on your digital twin policy. This is why I mentioned early on, is about policy at the data level, where you have full control of what information you want to share, what information you don't want to share. So, for example, in an emergency situation, certain infrastructure information that is vital to have for blue light surfaces to gain hold of, those may be the policy you put in place at the critical infrastructures. Okay, and some of the standards coming out now is within the in the UK is the information management framework. In Europe is Gaia X, a federated data infrastructure for Europe, and in Japan, CADI, which is a connector architecture for decentralized data exchange. Now, how we are seeing this is the digital twin sort of for cities level, going to the national level, and then probably a connected nation with the national digital twin. Of course, some of those societal benefit is about automating the productivity and the efficiency, which we know in the industrial space is of great efficiency. I mean, if I may give you one example, is if you a car today, okay, a family car today, same functionality, yeah, is cheaper than say 10 years ago. Okay, I'm not taking into account of the pandemic situation, but from a manufacturing point of view, producing a car today, same functionality, is a lot cheaper than say 10, 15 years ago. Okay, so those are the benefits that we could use for society. If you're dealing with society, then you got to think about digital ethics. And this is at the beginning of the stage where it got to be ethical, inclusive, and explainable. If you're dealing with people's data or society data, for example, the apps that you provide to your end customer, that is personal data in some way, and you need to think about that, especially when if you're operating in Europe. The EU AI Act coming shortly will impact that, your operation. Of course, to protect society and businesses, to mitigate the risks and the threats. And lastly, and probably the most important from my viewpoint, is that sustainability. So these are the sustainability development goals of the UN. So I just should be coming to my takeaway. So the takeaway I would like you to take away here is very much, it's about revolutionizing decision making. And if you are dealing with digital data of people and society, you need to consider your digital ethic and governance. Digital transformation or digital twin is a multiple technology, okay? And it's not a single piece. And it is about continuous digital transformation. It's not a one-shot off thing, but it's a continuous improvement, like the evolution that we've been on for in the Industrial Revolution and of also the human society. So what we would suggest is start small with a clear digital transformation outcome, keep the digital twin in mind as your digital transformation application grow. And one way to connect your digital silo either internally or externally is use the federated approach. Lastly, I'd like to leave you with selecting the right partner is halfway there, because you can't do everything yourself. You need to have the right partner for your digital transformation, your digital twin, your metaverse journey. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Peter. This is really insightful and great information down here about the impact in society and how digital twin can help in this, and how different organizations are taking it as well. And I like, mostly is actually took us into the journey, right? The past and present and the future and where we're going. It's really good insights here. So a couple of questions I can see from our delegates here. Could you please define what do you mean by AI after all? There is not this one AI. And I guess this is reflect the technology and the digital twin aspects. Over to you, Peter.
Yes, so there are multiple AI technology today, and we are in probably the third or fourth generation of AI. So today's generation of AI is probably, you know them as machine learning or deep neural network, yeah. And that is a major advantage over the last generation of AI, which is rule-based, or you probably know them as expert systems, okay? The disadvantage of the last generation AI or the expert system is a rule-based, okay? So you have to program everything, if then else, if you know programming. Whereas today's generation of neural network AI, you don't have to program anything. You use the data and the AI would learn itself what you want to achieve with your AI model. And going forward is about explainability. And this is where you combine the two, the neural network AI and the symbolic AI, i.e. the rule-based AI. And this is the trends going forward, is what is referred to as neuro-symbolic AI. And what that means is that the symbolic AI provide you with a handle on that explainability piece. So for example, if you train your AI model with neural network, i.e. machine learning, then the symbolic AI will be on top of that. So if the neural network make something that is unexpected, like for example, in the Go championship, you may human didn't understand why the machine made that move, right? If it's something outside of the predefined set of parameters or your expected output, then the symbolic will catch that and say, hold on a minute, something's not correct here. And that provides you with that traceability. So if you're working in the AI space, it's very exciting time.
Interesting. Another interesting question following up with the AI, and where we are in that journey and the symbolic AI, like you mentioned. Do you have some, if you like, insights about the algorithm and the explainability here? So I think the question here from Gautam is how we can build this non-biased data set, right? In essence.
Yeah.
And that could help us actually to minimize all the problems that we're hearing about moral, kind of aspects, societal objectives and outcomes, and allow us as well to more explainability.
Yes, so so there are two elements to the data ethics or the AI ethics. One is about the algorithm itself, yeah, how the algorithm is set up for training your AI model. The other one is about your data set, okay? Is it balanced, yeah? Or is it missing something? That because the algorithm would learn from the data. And if your data is not balanced, then it will have a tendency to be biased. Yeah, it's like a child, if you think of that way. If the child is only experiencing certain a subset, yeah, then it can't. If something happened to it, it have not experienced before, you do not know what to do, and that is the situation you can get yourself into trouble, or the system would make wrong prediction. Yeah, and of course, being human, certain human would train the system for certain purposes. Yeah, and it could be for bad purposes. Yeah, it depends where you're coming from. AI is a double-edged sword. Okay, you can leverage it for the good. At the same time, you can use it for bad things that you may not want to. And this is where we are today thinking in the AI space, leveraging AI to protect AI, or leveraging AI to safeguarding AI. So it depending which camp you're coming from. But the main thing is you need to have some sort of ethical policy in place in your organization. And just to give you an example, what Fujitsu is doing in that space is that if we were developing an application for the female population, and today most of our colleagues in the AI are male dominated, okay, of course you will get more balance in that respect by diversity or whatever, but you can also leverage your diverse workforce, okay, assigning or as a voluntary program. This is what we've been doing in Fujitsu services in the UK, because we have a very diverse workforce. We're leveraging those people being the eyes, yeah, and the wisdom to look at different stages of that design, development, and deployment process for AI. So for example, if we have a wheelchair application, we will assign our colleagues, yeah, or as a volunteer, to be the eye looking at supporting our colleagues in the design development process, because our colleagues doing the development and the design and the deployment is under a lot of pressure to deliver it on time. They may not have the training necessary for the ethical AI, but if we assign somebody being the eyes and have that sort of wisdom in that space, yeah, because a wheelchair person will look at the world differently from someone standing up. That's the viewpoint. So this is what we are doing internally to make sure, until the technology is mature enough to able to use the AI technology to look at the biasness and whatever. Until then, we are leveraging our diverse workforce to be the eyes and the wisdom.
That's a good insight. But it's interesting you said this, how Fujitsu taking as an organization and build the policy and process internally to enable this kind of ethical AI to be advanced, or digital twin in the aspects. Is this a role of one organization, or because given if we're going to go to that society 4.0 as being mentioned here, that typically needs to get hand in hand with other organizations, other
yes. Correct.
governments, etc. So how you take this as a leader in your field, or as a leader organizations in your sectors, into building the right ecosystem around you to enable this to be happening?
So one example I can give you within the Fujitsu group is, for example, within Fujitsu Research Europe, we are a co-founder with the European Union's AI for People. Yeah, so we've been a early adopter of the ethical issues. It's not just AI, but digital and also treating people fairly, and also our customer. This is part of the Fujitsu way. If you have a opportunity to take a look at the Fujitsu way, this is our sort of DNA to make sure what we do make positive impact to society and business, not the negative.
Absolutely, absolutely. Probably last one before we close our session here, from the ethical and moral and make it the human in the center of this technology into the monetization question here Simon is asking. Do you see how the economic of digital twin will be in this different value chain and how you can monetize it?
I think some organizations are already doing that. It's about understanding your organization or your business, where you can monetize your data. Okay, so there are today around the world, there are data exchange. Instead of stock exchange, you have data exchange. So there are people are looking at monetizing this already. How successful they are today, I think the jury is still out. Okay, but I think the trend is definitely that. And for example, in the metaverse, yes, that is all about data.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. Thank you so much, Peter, for all these insights about and the good vibe and the good kind of moral. You bring a huge important aspects into the role of digital technology to push us into an ethical, non-biased, a great, if you like, outcome, if you like, from these capabilities to enable us to live better, I guess. So probably this comes to the end of our session today. So I would like to thank all our speakers for all these great insights that they shared with us today across different sectors. And I'm sure all of us have some key takeaways and insights that comes from different industry here today. So the fast food industry is our first speaker today. Secondly, the IoT technical technology provider and all the use cases that came from Spectru, then also the construction industry as well, how they do it, their digital transformation journey by themselves. But also as well, you know, lastly with Peter and Fujitsu, the vision of digital twin and how impact our society in the future. So thank you to all our speakers. Thanks for all the delegates that joined us today across the globe. Hopefully to see you soon in our events that's coming soon. Thanks for all our regular, thanks for all the researchers and organizers who help us to make this happen today. I wish you all a good day ahead, and hopefully we can connect it somehow in the future. Thanks again and have a lovely day.